Hello, I'm Christine Sket, a volunteer, coach, and parent with Odyssey of the Mind, Buccaneer Bay region. I assist with coordinating the programs at Rowlett Academy and Manatee School for the Arts. The company I work for is BrailleWorks International. It is the corporate sponsor of Odyssey of the Mind program. Today, I'm here with some key volunteers in the Odyssey of the Mind program. Volunteer is a word you'll be hearing a lot of today. With me now are Bob Filardo, Buccaneer Bay Regional Tournament Coordinator, Samantha Robinson, a volunteer coach and coordinator for the past 11 years. Also joining us are Jane Cheatham, Dr. Sylvia Price, with the Manatee County branch of the American Association of University Women. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Bob, I'd like to start with you. If you could tell us, what is Odyssey of the Mind? And I know that's a tough question to answer.
It is a tough question. Odyssey of the Mind is a creative problem-solving program that works outside of the standardized school setting to teach kids creativity, and it's based on the theory that creativity is something that can be taught. You don't have to naturally have it, but it is a skill that can be taught. And it operates within 5 to 7 team members on a team. All of the kids on the team are from basically the same age or school level, and it teaches them many life skills which they need in today's life to get by. And that's kind of the easy explanation of it. Like you said, it is difficult. Some of the other people could probably tell you some of the other instances of what it does and how it helps.
Dr. Price, you've been able to watch teams from the other side. Can you tell us what you've seen?
Well, my job as program chair was to find interesting programs to present to the group, and Sam Miklas was one of the suggestions that we put forward, and he was so good that we got a number of people in our group to want to sponsor different schools.
And I was a volunteer with Linda Fowler, who was the reading coach at Seabreeze Elementary. And I approached her as if the school would be interested in participating in Odyssey of the Mind. She discussed it with Sherry Berkman, who was the gifted teacher, who thought it was a wonderful idea. So as a member of AAUW, I went to the board and I asked them if they would be interested in sponsoring the school. Ann Jones, one of the members, paid the membership registration fee, and that is how we began. The next year, I approached friends and members to sponsor other schools. And I think we've sponsored as many as 8 schools at one time, and last fall we sponsored 6 schools. And I just think it's the most wonderful program ever. And may I mention my pen?
Yes, please do.
This is a special pen from Sam Miklas. It's the Miklas family pen. And I was so honored to receive it.
That's excellent.
Good.
Samantha, what is Odyssey of the Mind? What would you say it is?
Well, I would say that it's a creative problem-solving competition, because we need to realize that these teams are going forward and competing against each other. They are given a long-term problem, and there are 5 different problems to choose from. They can be a performance problem or a technical problem. I have traditionally coached the structure problem, so they have to build a structure out of balsa wood and glue and see how much weight that structure can hold. At the same time, they're doing a performance at the same with the other team members are doing performance. The kids have to learn to collaborate. They have to learn to listen to one another, which is difficult because a lot of times you get some very strong-willed, very bright children that aren't used to listening to other people's ideas. So the beginning of coaching a team in Odyssey of the Mind can be trying on the kids because they want their ideas heard. But by the end, they all have learned how to appreciate each other's strengths, and each person has their special niche on the team, and they learn how to listen to each other's ideas. Another part of OM is the spontaneous problem, where the members of the team will go into the room and they have no idea what the problem is going to be, and they have to come up with a solution to the problem. That too can be nerve-wracking on the children, but they come through it, and they come through it together as a team, and it's very rewarding in the end.
So, Bob, what would you say are the benefits for a student who participates in Odyssey of the Mind?
The biggest benefit is opening their minds to the possibilities of what they can do. The program teaches not to put constraints on them. Youth now in the world have lots of constraints put on them. You can't do this, you can't do that, you shouldn't do this. And it teaches them to open their minds that they can and do everything. And what they've touched on is the life lessons that us adults are used to working with difficult people and in time constraints and having to listen to ideas that we don't necessarily agree with, budgeting, all the things that we've had to learn the hard way in life. This program allows them to learn in an atmosphere where failure is not a bad thing. One of the other tenets of Odyssey of the Mind is failure is a good thing. You learn many things through failure. So it gives them an opportunity to create, have an imagination, which sadly has left some of our youth in the last 15, 20 years, and do it in a safe, good atmosphere where they can fail and learn what that means and how to overcome obstacles.
Yes,
I think
sorry.
Many people have the impression that Odyssey of the Mind is for gifted students. I mentioned the gifted teacher, but it is not.
Correct.
It's for all students. Am I correct on
Absolutely correct.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important parts of it is that it's all child-driven. And the coaches are there just to facilitate. We might be able to wrangle them in. That's how I talk about it. But we are not allowed to give them any ideas. We are not allowed to do any of the work for them. So if they need to cut a board in half, they have to learn how to saw, they have to learn to use whatever equipment they want to do, or figure out a way that they can do it safely.
Now, can you teach them how to saw?
I can teach them how to saw, but not on the things that they're going to take to competition. So we can teach them the proper ways to use all their tools, but I can't do it for them.
And it's incredibly educational for us as adults and volunteers and coaches, because we also have preconceived notions as to what kids can do. And you very, very often find out that they can do things that you never would have imagined. And you'll be sitting there as a coach, or you're sitting there helping, and they come up with this idea, and you're like, that'll never work. And then a few months later, not only does it work, but it works unbelievably.
Right.
I think another thing that we forget is when they go to the nationals or the internationals is they associate with so many people from so many other countries. And this is a wonderful way to start them at a young age of interacting with people of different languages and different backgrounds. And I think that is a marvelous thing that they get to do.
Well, she's touched on something that Sam mentioned also. This is based on the accumulation of the work that they do during the year is based on going to competitions. And there's a local competition where they compete with teams in their basic school grade or age on the local, which might encompass 3 or 4 counties. And then the teams whose solutions are the most creative and get the highest scoring, they move on to the state competition, where all the teams from all the regions in the state send their best teams to. And they have that competition there, and at that point, some of the teams that are the best move on to what's called the World Finals, and that's where they come into where you meet teams from all over the world. Every year there's between 20 and 25, 27 foreign countries from all over the world, and these kids get the unbelievable atmosphere of being able to sit down with language barriers and not speak any Japanese or not speak any German, and be able to sit down and you watch them have perfect interactions with kids from all over the world when neither one of them speak the same languages. It gives them a culture infusion, and it just gives them ideas, see how different people live and their thought processes, which is something that is lacking as well in the world now.
And recently, I had 2 teams go to Worlds, one from Southeast High School and one from Rowlett. The Rowlett team had a buddy team from Korea. Our Korean buddy team didn't speak any English whatsoever, but it was quite interesting to watch them. They had brought a little Korean game, and they taught each other how to play the game, and the kids were just ecstatic about it, and the language barrier was breaking down, and they were solving this together, and it was very good. Some of the kids even now have emails back and forth, and have relationships with kids from Korea now. And
they have residents together at International too.
Yeah.
We've had some teams in Florida this year who also did what's called homestays. Foreign teams, after the world competition is over, you can adopt a team for a week, and they come and they stay with you. And there were some teams out of the Orlando area who homestayed some of the Polish teams. And they got a real idea into how cultures are different and how different people react to different ways, and situations that they absolutely don't have in Poland, and situations that we absolutely don't have that they do in the United States.
That's a very exciting aspect of Odyssey of the Mind when you get to the international level. What would you say as a volunteer, what skills do you need to possess to be able to facilitate all of this?
Patience, open-mindedness, the ability to not put your own influences and your own ideas in. As Sam said, this is a adult hands-off, kids hands-on. So sometimes it can be very difficult where you see them going what you perceive as down the bad path and wanting to correct that path, but you can't. You have to let them go and learn, and many times you find out, wow, that was the best path to go on. Right. I didn't see it, and I didn't understand it.
And I think you have to not be afraid to let them fail. And I think today, parents are these helicopter parents that are like, oh, my kid has to be the best, and they have to do the perfect. And so it's very hard to say, okay, you know what? You're going to build this and it's not going to work, and look at how much you're going to learn from that. So if you can be somebody that can sit back, be patient, you love kids, and you realize that failure is a part of life and that we're going to learn from our failures, you can probably coach an OM team.
And pretty much the only obstacles in our kids' ways to developing is us. We hold them back. We say they can't do something. We don't think they can overcome this obstacle. And we're inputting that onto them. It's not them. When I was young, it was all about imagination. It was all get out of the house, go do what you need to do. And I think our kids have lost some of that imagination, and this program brings that back.
That's excellent. If you are not that type of a coach, if you know you just cannot coach Odyssey of the Mind, is there still an opportunity for you to volunteer? Is there a place where you would fit?
You can judge.
Absolutely, you can judge. You can work with the local organization in making the competition run and doing trainings and things like that. There is a niche for anybody who wants to volunteer. We have a niche that we can put you in, and it allows you to give back to the youth and interact with them. And one of the greatest things that I get out of it is it makes you feel young. It keeps you young. It keeps you around kids and watching the brightest and the best that we have out there and watching what they become.
And one of the hardest things for me as a coach is finding the judges, because each team is required to have a judge come to competition. And that involves the person giving up a weekend for training and a weekend for, well, just a Saturday for the competition. And if you're not one that has enough time to spend with a whole group of kids all year, or you don't think you're one that can sit on your hands and not help the children, that would be a perfect place, and that would take a lot of stress off of the people that are coaching the kids, because that's the hardest thing, I think, to find is coaches and judges.
So yes.
How long have you been coaching?
I have been doing Odyssey of the Mind for 11 years because my kids did it first. And so I've been coaching for 9.
Very
Yeah, so.
Wonderful.
So, and I'd like to point something out. None of you have children right now in the school system. Your kids are all grown.
Correct.
So you love it this much that you're still giving back to the community. That is, so what would you say to someone if they were looking to volunteer? What would they do?
The first thing I would tell them to do would be to, wherever they are, find out who their local Odyssey of the Mind chapter or region is, and contact them and tell them that they have a desire to volunteer. And then whoever is in charge in that area will talk to them and find out where their interests are and where we can fit them in, and explain to them the options, because they will have options as to what they can do to help and volunteer. And we will find something that works for them, that fits into their personality profile and their time constraints and everything else, and find a way to get them in. And Odyssey of the Mind if you get started in it, most people who come don't come and do it for a year and then
No.
leave. They get sucked in and roped in for many, many years. I started in 1988 when my son's teacher said, hey, there's a program we'd like for you to look into. And we went and looked into it, and I got roped into being a coach, which I don't have coach material. And not everybody can do everything that's there. So I wasn't coach material, and my wife took over being the coach. I became the judge that year. And since then, I've done many, many things on the regional, state, and world level. And my kids are grown. My kids have graduated. Both of my kids work within the program doing things as well. It tends to be a family affair, and it tends to be something that you don't do for a year and leave. You do for many.
And it could be as simple as, if you are a parent and you would like that your child be on an OM team, just go to your school's principal if you don't have a program at that school, because that's what I did. My kids were down in middle school in Sarasota County, and they had done OM, but my daughter was at Rowlett, and I was like, hey, could we do OM here? And they were like, sure, if you're gonna coach it, we'll let you do it. And so that's how I got into it. And it was probably one of the best things that my kids have done. Their whole educational time taught them so many life skills. And so it's just as easy as just asking a question.
I have met kids when they were in first and second grade. And they were on teams, Division I teams, Division II teams, Division III teams, Division IV teams, and now they are coaching, or they are judging, and they are volunteering, and you get to see, it's amazing, you get to see how these kids have changed and molded over the years to become who they are. This program is going to create the kids who are going to develop what this world becomes.
Yes.
And the fact that they have the tools needed makes me feel good.
Dr. Price, when your organization reached out to Odyssey of the Mind to become sponsors, there's other organizations that if they weren't looking to do the financial obligation, perhaps they could then have a volunteer role. What would you recommend to an organization? You and Jane, what would you both recommend?
I think if they aren't able to coach, how nice it would be for them to make a donation so that somebody who could coach could take on another team and help them through things like that.
Yes, I agree.
Some people just can't be hands-on, so if they can help in that way, it would be good.
I think Christy knows me, and anyone I ask cannot refuse. I've even gone to the manager of Publix, and last year they donated, and I spread the word about it, and I'm in the Anna Maria Island Kiwanis Club, and you two are coming with some of your this fall to talk to them about it. I think this is the way in doing this, to educate the community and make them aware, because I still have people say, what is it? Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, what is it?
And many organizations and corporations use Odyssey of the Mind as a team building experience, because they will provide us with judging teams. They'll provide us with 5 people or 8 people or 13 or 15 people, and they'll come together as a group to be trained on how to be judges. They work together as judges at the competition, and it's very, very good for the corporations, because they use it as team building. And so there's a lot of ways that it carries over into the community.
Brailleworks did that this year with just a small portion, but I believe that they will be growing that because it is a team building and it is giving back to the community.
Mm-hmm. And one of the keys, whether you're a school administrator that has the program at your school or you're a corporation who is sponsoring in whatever way, the key is to come to a competition or go to a dress rehearsal and watch a team perform or watch teams. Right. And I guarantee you, you will walk away with a totally different feeling in a, I don't know if awe is the correct way, but you will come away going, I can't believe what I saw a group of kids do. And that's key. Getting them to watch a performance is key.
And the enthusiasm of these kids and what they can do and how proud they are of what they're doing, right?
Yep.
I mean, they're just...
I mean, I think the best thing is
awesome
that they did it themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, and that's where you get that enthusiasm and the energy, because you can watch them put something together and it falls apart and put it together, and then when it finally works, those kids are on cloud nine.
It's kind of like in your job, if you're given a project to do and it's an extremely difficult project and you pull it off and it works, that feeling that you get is great. They get to do this many times through the year, whether it's building a prop that actually works or come an idea that they bring to fruition. And it's great to see those feelings and the excitement, and that is wonderful to see.
So there is a commitment level for a team. What would you say for a participant the commitment level would be? Let's look at a middle school team.
Well, I think a middle school team should be kind of guiding themselves on how much they meet and things like that, because it is child driven. At an elementary school level, we work at least in the beginning once a week for a couple of hours, depends on their attention level. And then closer to competition, it might be 2 weeks, and you might have some weekends in there too. A middle school team should be able to do things quicker than an elementary school team, but sometimes they don't. So they may have to start out once a week, and I find that a lot of times time management becomes an issue because they have to learn how to manage their time. So they might say, oh, this will only take us 2 minutes to do, and it's taken them the whole entire session. So I would say at least once a week, and then towards competition, it's going to be depending on how well they've managed their time. It might be every day right before competition.
Thank you all very much. I'd just like to end with a couple final thoughts. Sylvia?
My point is the involvement of teachers. Like, when I started with Sherry was very involved in doing it. How are teachers helping you a lot with this? Or is it mostly parent volunteers? Well,
the dynamics of a membership, when memberships are basically schools, whether it's a homeschool or a public school or a private school, are different. And some of them, yes, faculty are very strong, and in others, they basically just give the name and parents do everything. So the dynamics are very different, which allows it to work.
Which is good, but I'm saying
that's the good part.
Teacher involvement.
Yeah,
it's very flexible.
Sometimes it's a teacher coach, sometimes it's a parent coach. Right. Yeah, at Rowlett we have both. We have we have staff and teachers doing it, and parents.
And may I ask one more question? Do you see any difference if you have a volunteer coach or a teacher coach? Is about?
Yes, I do. I think the opportunity for parent coaches to have a hard time keeping their fingers out of the pie tends to be a little harder, and it's only because usually when you're a member of the faculty, you're already pulled in 50 different directions. Your time management is low, and you don't have the time sometimes.
That's good.
But I see strong ones on both.
Any final thoughts before we end the program? Sam?
I just think that Odyssey of Mine is a very valuable program. Teaches children a lot of valuable lessons. It's a lot of fun. They have lifelong friends, lifelong memories.
Bob?
I think the biggest thing that Odyssey of the Mind does is allow the things that are inside our youth to come out without restrictions, and the basis of how that works, the program is unbelievable on how it does that and how it works. And I think anybody who is interested in getting their kid on a team or volunteering, it's one of those things in life that you have to give it a shot, give it a try. And you know, we talked earlier about judging being the hardest thing to get. It is. And it's amazing how many people show up at judges training. I have to be here because my team told me I had to be here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the second day, at the end of competition, oh, I'm definitely coming back and doing this next year.
I'd like to thank all of my guests for being here today and for supporting Odyssey of the Mind. We are grateful for all of our sponsors, and we would like to recognize TICO, BrailleWorks International, the Manatee Education Foundation, the American Association of University Women, and all of the community members who volunteer their time for this unique and valuable program. A special thanks goes out to METV for producing this program and to our viewers for watching. If you'd like to learn more about Odyssey of the Mind in Manatee County, please visit the website on the screen. I'm Christine Sket, and thanks for watching.